Hey everybody, we are back today with Echo of Fancy Monster Vision. Thank you for coming back.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is a little bit of an interesting video, but I'm so happy to share this particular conversation with you.
It is an interesting video because I'm quite literally handing you the reins right now.
Yes.
About
Love it.
what are we what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, as per usual, I am on my little soapbox about the Chiron return of the United States and this general transit of Chiron in Aries. Now, the last time I was on and we had a chat about this, we had just been through the final Chiron return of the United States. And we were talking about some of the themes that we were going to see. So if anybody who's watching this now hasn't seen any of the videos that we've talked about before, I'll do a quick recap and then we'll dive into some really important tools we can use to navigate this transit moving forward. So the main themes of Chiron and Aries, this whole transit takes about 10 years, give
Yeah.
or take. It's one of the longest transits because of its elliptical orbit. So we have a long time to digest all of the lessons
Okay.
and make a lot of mistakes, which is great because we're making a lot of mistakes.
We really fucking are.
Mhm. But that's okay. That's part of being a person. And I think that's a big reason the fear of making mistakes is what is leading to a general sense of like rigidity and puritanical thinking that is only going to exacerbate the problem, right? And what is the problem, right? The United States has a natal Chiron in Aries. We are very much this like you're not my dad, like childish kind of energy. We threw tea in the harbor to say fuck you to the king because we didn't want to pay taxes. How the fuck did we get here?
Oh, that's nice.
So,
Jumping ahead. Hold on. There we go.
woo, awesome. Yes. So, the United States' natal chart, the Sibley chart, right? We have the natal Chiron in Aries at 20 degrees. We're Sag rising, very interesting here. A lot of Cancer placements, which obviously shows up in our nationalistic sense. Nothing to see here for sure. But it's also directly, almost directly, it's within 6 degrees, which is a little bit wide for me personally, but it's within the general accepted range of an opposition to Saturn in Libra. So that opposition is really, really important to understand what the United States is going through. It's this concept of externalized fantasy, how we present ourselves to the world, this idea of who we are in our minds that we may not actually be walking the walk about, right? Like the United States loves to be an underdog. We love a rags to riches kind of story. We love to be the scrappy little guys who like band together and take over like the big bad, right? That's always been the United States' like origin story.
Like Team
We
America.
know, yeah, right? Like we know as adults that that's not really what's happening, right? That's not how this country came to be. That's not how this country was built. The people who were fundamental in making this country at all successful are the most oppressed demographics, even to this day. And they're the ones that are currently being targeted to keep that power and balance. So as we get further and further with this opposition, like the structure that we are trying to implement is getting so far away from actually espousing the ideals that this country is pretending like it is on the inside. That is a really difficult dynamic to balance. And that's really what's getting hit here with our Chiron return. And of course, it's making a beautiful T square with our fucking sun in Cancer.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of energy. We're a country of hypocrites, but with the energy, I mean,
But no,
but with
it's
the
honest.
energy,
Very true.
yeah, and like it's literally fine. We just have to own it, and
Yeah.
that's what the natal Chiron with anybody, a country or an individual, that is really what it calls for to use that energy and move forward in a more honest and authentic way. So yeah, we are childish, we are goofy, scrappy little nobodies, but also we are hypocrites and not, we can be aware of those things and use that to inform us as how we move forward. On the other hand, we can pretend that that doesn't exist, push it down, bottle it up, just bury it deep, 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 and just hope that it never comes to surface, which sure has worked for us in the past, you know. But in general, this transit really deals with topics like our mental health as a country, our sense of identity, like who we are and us versus them dynamic. Again, that like Aries, Libra
Oh yeah,
balance of, you
absolutely.
know, uh, what does my face look like? What does that relate to your face? Like the color of our skin, the texture of our hair, the color of our eyes, our weight, the amount of beauty we may or may not possess. In terms of our natal chart as a country, what types of individuals do we find beautiful versus what types of beauty attributes maybe we don't find beautiful? And I think that in particular is something that a lot of people are talking about right now, especially when we have filters happening and Botox and fillers and all sorts of things where people are pulling their face to the point where you can no longer see the micro expressions that they're making. And that kind of circles back to mental health because a big part of communication is nonverbal. And a lot of those subtle cues are being missed because people are freezing their fucking faces and
Yeah.
so they're not making those micro expressions, which is wild. Um,
I also don't understand this is like I mean I get five little Botox shots right here. I'll be real transparent about it. I don't give a shit.
there's nothing wrong with it.
Right here. But I've made the lady that does it. I'm like, "Can you please make sure my face isn't fucking frozen? Can you please
Mm-hmm,
make sure that I can still raise my eyebrows?" Because it's just
mm-hmm,
But yeah, that is definitely a thing. And people are all starting to look alike. Like,
exactly. The
wow.
homogenization of someone's face, especially because of how cameras work and how focal lengths work. You don't look the way that you do on your front facing camera the same way that you do when you look in the mirror, like when you take a selfie, because the actual focal length does not match what your eyes do. The lens of your eyes aren't going to have the same focal length as the length of your camera. So it really fucks people up because you can look really good in a selfie if you position yourself right, if you like, do whatever. But then in real life, you look crazy, especially if you get like, all sorts of fillers and whatnot. If someone like turns to the side, all of a sudden the illusion is broken. And we're starting to see that, right? So this push and pull between like the person that we want to present as our identity to the world versus who we actually are, the authentic bits. Um, and again, I mean, this is one of those topics that I have in the past gone on very, very long rants about because once you start to pull a thread, it's everywhere, right? Like the fact that we idolize a lot of white women who utilize a lot of the features of Black women, but they're the ones that profit, right? That's very much a Chiron and Aries opposite Saturn. Like we're walking the walk, but why is it not circling back to the actual people who should be compensated for that stuff, right? Like we don't want to give credit where credit is due. That's a lot of it. Um, let's see, impulse control and emotional reactivity. So it's not just our physical face and our hair, it is our brain, our neurological center, the concept of self, and who we align ourselves with, right? So, like, I am someone who thinks that I am a good person, which means I am going to automatically agree with other people who I think are good people. And with the way the internet is sort of set up now, it's for engagement. It's to take your attention and get it and get a reaction out of you. And we have been kind of psychologically trained by our algorithms now to respond as fast as possible with really strong emotional triggers. And those triggers are usually like this is not something I agree with. This is not a version of the world that I like want to espouse. I don't want to be a part of that. let me click on this thing and see how much I hate this person.
Uh-huh. Huh?
You know,
Oh yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
in opposition, like I might agree with this person, but the things that I have learned is that the group that I belong to requires me to not listen to this person because they've decided for whatever reason that they don't like this person. And so you have a choice. Do I stay with my in group, which is like an evolutionary like safety protocol that's programmed into us, or do I just go, wait, you guys are being fucking dumb. Like take a second for and like what is going on?
I
We've
would
all
like
seen
the
go
Pluto.
ahead, no, go ahead.
I just want to interject real quick. Pluto and Aquarius
Mm-hmm.
is very also what with what you're talking about right there with the group dynamic thing and
Mm-hmm.
very much I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It just very much
No, 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 please interject. I don't care about that at all. Please. This is your thing too.
but no, keep going. Sorry. I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's very you're right on the money there. I've heard other astrologers call the Pluto and Aquarius transit like a forced conformity kind of a thing. And in this respect, I really do have to agree because on an evolutionary level, we are social creatures. We really don't exist as individuals like in the wild back in the day. And so we had to learn how to get along in groups in order to survive. Some people were able to do this, and we banded our skills together, and everybody was able to live another day. So it's sort of evolved over time into it was dangerous on a real fundamental level to go against the group in some way that would make you ousted if they like all turn their backs on you. You don't have access to us anymore. You're canceled, as we would maybe say today
Yeah.
on the internet. Not
Ugh.
at all the same thing, like on a realistic level, but your brain doesn't know the difference. Like if you've ever been ghosted by someone, it hurts like you're fucking dying. And it's like in modern times, like that's not actually going to kill
No.
you, probably, right? But your body doesn't know that. And so, like, the brain body connection here is something that is very much our responsibility to keep an eye on and to manage. And while we have so much going on in the world, that is really going to be a skill set that we can take this transit and become more able to handle what's going on right now and in the future, especially if you live in the United States. Um, and because of this, right, like because of this reactivity that we've seen on the internet going back and forth, um, farming for engagement, making rage bait, making people angry and like clicking on your stuff to get the ads, to get whatever, it's really created a literacy crisis with adults. And it's not like, I don't know how to read, right? Like we did that with No Child Left Behind. We made sure the next generations were like functionally illiterate. And that itself, I think, is a crime against humanity, to be perfectly honest. But I'm not really trying to get on my soapbox about my personal beliefs. This is about astrology. Um, it's a media literacy crisis that we're going through right now. Because in 2020 we all jumped into our phones when we couldn't go outside. We wanted to connect. Again, we're social animals, so we wanted to stay connected to each other. And what ended up happening was we had to do the fast reaction thing over and over and over again. There was so much information coming in, and we had to really rapid fire like parse things out and categorize them and say yes or no, which wasn't actually necessary, but it felt necessary, right? To feel like there was some sort of control. Um, but what's happening with the way that technology is moving forward is we're getting a lot more bots. We're getting a lot more AI slop, which
Christ,
is
I know.
a whole nother thing. So when you combine this habit, this like sort of psychological training that we've had with the way that we now engage with each other on the internet, this like super fast, not super thoughtful, yes, no kind of almost a Skinner's pigeon situation. And you add on bots interacting with you, you add on videos that are kind of difficult to see whether or not they're real or not if you're not taking the time to investigate, if you're not connected to your body enough to say, this feels weird, this feels wrong, maybe I'll take a second. You know what I mean?
This don't
um,
right.
right. You would think, but that's really a big foundational point of media literacy is being able to understand who's saying the thing, why they're saying it, what the audience is supposed to get out of it, and what you actually get out of it, you know?
What's the
Um,
agenda? What's the agenda? What's the propaganda? What's being
mhm.
pushed? Why? Uh-huh.
Yeah, but also like in a good faith context, because not everything is
No,
like
yeah.
it's really really easy to slip from I want to be media literate and be conscious to overdoing it, right? Again, another Chiron Aries Saturn opposition thing where we can overextend that muscle, and instead of being a critical thinker, we will think with criticism. As in, I'm going to start with every interaction as if somebody is trying to fucking attack me and somebody's trying to get one over on me. And it's incredibly difficult to keep that in mind when in reality, a very large portion of the internet is in fact trying to like pull one over on you.
Yeah,
It's not a great place for your brain.
no, it's really not. It's also there's a lot, a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of general noise. Honestly, it's gotten to the point for me where if I'm looking at something or I'm watching and it just feels like noise, I'm like, fuck this. I go on to the next thing. I'm like, fuck off. Fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
Like but if it
Yeah.
does like catch my attention, but like I'm still kind of like fuck this about like maybe it's the way that it's presented, maybe it's I'm getting that weird body feeling or mind where it's like this just isn't right. But there might be something to it in some way. I'll start, doing my own research on it to see
Mm-hmm.
what yeah. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And I think I'm really, really happy with both like my friend group and my extended community that I felt like people like you, because that's exactly, in my opinion, the correct way to engage with most media, especially what you're going to see online. Um, and that brings me to the little bait and switch that we're trying to pull here today, which is this phenomenon that is Taylor Swift. And I knew that I wanted to talk about this for quite a long time, but there's really no way to talk about this uh, insanely large cultural egregore without sounding like a psycho. You really can't. And like, it doesn't matter. There's just no way to even like approach this conversation because there's so much emotional tension for some reason around this specific person. And before we get into it, like I reached out to you and I was like, how do you the internet has exploded. My feeds are all covered with this crazy debate back and forth, passion speeches, video essays. Um, and one of my friends, who is like a legitimate Buddhist, not in pop culture whatsoever, texted me out of the blue saying, okay, can you please explain to me what this Taylor Swift stuff is about? And I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's getting to those corners of the internet, there is something afoot.
Something
And
afoot.
it might be time to talk about it. And when I asked you, your response was incredibly encouraging for me, which is why I was like, I would love to be able to talk about this with you on your platform. So if you would not mind indulging me, what do you think about Taylor Swift? What do you know about her? What's
I
your experience with her?
I only laugh because when you approached me about this, you were like, I can't remember your exact wording, but something like this may not at all be your thing. You know, I'll be honest. I'm not. I don't live completely under a rock. I know who she is. She's been around a
Hmm.
long time. I know she has a lot of albums. I'm gonna sound like a real dumbass here. I don't know that much.
That's
Uh,
a good thing.
yeah, I really don't, and it's. I mean, yeah, I don't know a whole bunch, like at all, really.
Hmm.
Sometimes my algorithm or whatever will push things. I will get certain, but I don't pay attention to them.
That's
Uh,
probably because of me, because some of my algorithm is cursed because of you, and I know that.
I'm the
I
minute.
will be scrolling. You are such a menace. It's so funny because people's algorithms, when they're mutual friends, like they influence each other. So I can see like what some of my friends have been on lately, and like
Have you
sometimes I'm like, yep, this is yours. I can tell this one's yours.
have you seen the person that slathers themselves in mayonnaise?
No, of course I haven't.
Because this is what my algorithm shows me, that kind of shit.
Hmm. Hmm.
And some
I
guy
love it.
sits around naked with a ventriloquist doll. Sorry, I'll stop. I'll stop. Yeah, but that's what I get shown. Okay. Clearly that tells you something about my mental state.
No, but it's great. I mean, it does in a very like, cerebral sense. Like you can absolutely, and you should, general, the royal you, not you specifically. There's no saving you, honey. Um, but like I always recommend to do kind of like a mindful algorithm cleanse and clearing at least once a quarter, right? Like make a point to scroll through your apps and go like, is that like what does this kind of say about my mental state? Like what am I actually thematically feeling, and you'll be able to reroute it by searching for things and blocking certain stuff, unfollowing people. There are ways to manipulate your algorithm for your own mental health, but I really do appreciate that. And it's kind of one of the more interesting things, because we all have our own very specific algorithms. And so something that's popular and like what I would be like, oh, everybody knows about this thing, you could be sitting right next to me and have no fucking clue because that's not at all what you're getting served, right? So it's really important to keep that in mind too. It's like these echo chambers that we have, even though you're seeing something over and over and over, doesn't mean that's a general consensus. That just means that the algorithm is serving you this thing. It's because you're watching it, it's because you're interacting with it. So that again, it's that Saturn and Chiron sort of back and forth dialogue between you and the mirror of yourself. And if it's not an accurate mirror, then you have to kind of figure out how to manipulate that mirror so it looks like the kind of person that you think you are on the inside. Right. And I love that. It seems like your algorithm kind of does. I love that. Like, if someone was like, which one of your friends would be most likely to watch this person covering themselves in mayonnaise? I'm pretty sure you would be a high guess, if not the one that I would guess. And I love that. I love that. It's so fun.
I'm glad it's appreciated. Because sometimes I'll go through there and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'll be like, oh yeah, that's why, because I watch that shit. That's why. That's
Hmm.
why I'm getting this. Okay, give me
Hmm.
some more of it.
Exactly. Because like I think because of the lockdowns, and we just use social media so differently. A lot of people were using it to learn to be politically active. And it went from this thing where we were just fucking around to this very, very serious thing for some people. And like I think sometimes we forget that it can just be goofy dumb bullshit. And it does not have to be the place where you take a stand for something. Like you can go and do that in your life, like
Yes.
in real life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel like if they're engaging in discourse online, that means something about them as a person, that they are contributing to the overall cause, when that might not necessarily be the case.
No,
Um,
it might not be, and you also might be fighting or talking to a robot.
yeah, that's the other thing. So when we're talking about repetition, especially, I'll get to this like at the end of the video. Um, Keep a time check on me if you have to like wrap this up, by the way. But one of the main things, if you are looking for in a media literacy thing when you're engaging with the internet, is that same repetition. When you and I are in conversation with one another, and I put out an idea like, "Oh yes, it's a beautiful day outside. The grass is so green." You'll look around and go, yeah, you know what? And like the air smells so fresh or something like that, right? That is a yes and organic conversation where you and I are sharing an experience. We're coming together on that same like little slice of reality and describing it and rounding it out. That's how normal conversations happen. When you're talking about abstract ideas and all of that, that's something that you should be looking for. If you are seeing the same exact phrase, and it's usually like 5 words or less, right? Taylor Swift is MAGA, for example. That's an easily repeatable phrase. And nobody is yes anding this. Nobody is like even paraphrasing it or changing the way that they're saying it to make it an actual like thought that they've had. We've sort of started to crowdsource our opinions in this really odd way. And you can see that when you see that same repetition of phrasing over and over again. So if I say the grass is green and you go, the grass is green, that's not a particularly fun conversation to have. And it's not like a very fruitful one either, right? It's just like a mirror. It's repeating back the same thing. Again, it's that like hypnotic loop of like fucking belly button gazing at this point. Um, so it's really important to be mindful of what exactly it is you're engaging with on the internet, being mindful that it might not be a human being at all. And it might be somebody who's trying to get that emotional reaction out of you.
Uh-huh.
Um, as far as like my personal experience with Taylor Swift specifically, I I wasn't really aware of her very much after her like 1989 album. I really liked that one. That was like a bajillion years ago. Um, and then I think it was 2022, 2021 or 2022, her Midnight's album came out. And that's when I started paying attention.
Okay.
Um, it was a really fascinating time on the internet.
I don't think you went into all of this with me, or no, keep talking. This is going to be like new information, some of it, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try and be as brief as possible because like it is admittedly unemployed behavior. I was going through something and this was the transit that I was watching happen all over the internet, but I've very rarely seen it so consolidated around such a singular topic, such a singular person, right? Like we talk about the Epstein files, we talk about like the Diddy trials and stuff, and like they're big moments, like the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing that kind of pioneered astroturfing. That was a really scary thing to watch. And they're all very heavy topics, they're very serious topics. So, what I've always tried to like instill in anyone who wants to listen to me babble about this, media literacy specifically, is start with pop culture. Start with the light, goofy bullshit that should not get that deep. It should not matter. If a pop star is just doing their job,
Mhm.
and you have a very strong emotional reaction to that, that is something to investigate.
Mhm.
You should be having a very strong reaction to a lot of things that are going on in the world right now because it's a pretty pivotal time in our country, in the world. It's
It
it's
is.
happening. So if that's trickling down and you're emotionally getting riled up about somebody that you don't know, that you've never really paid attention to before now, and you're having these like fights and you're suddenly seeing this influx of content, regardless if it's positive or negative, that's like, that should perk your little ears up, right? And that's what happened to me in 2022 whenever her Midnight's album came out. I liked it. I was like, oh, this is cute. It's a little bop. I'm very sad. I was very sad at the time. And I was a little drunk. And I like opened Spotify and I was like, huh, I'm gonna listen to this. And I did. And little did I know, that's exactly the kind of like environment you should be listening to the album. And that's an album to be drunk to. Who would have thought? But the discourse around that really like exploded. And then she had her Eras tour, and then she had, her next album that came with a whole lot of baggage that we're not even going to bother going into because it's a thing. And now this most recent album.
Okay.
And what she's been doing, like most recently with these last three albums, just like in her career, is doing this bait and switch. This like presenting, this is what you're going to get from my album, from my music. Like the aesthetic visually is going to be X, Y, and Z. Like with Midnights, it was all very like 1970s themed. She was like, it's very like wood panel walls. She was like alone in this like shaggy carpeted house. She had like the long straight hair. It was very groovy looking.
Okay.
And people took that to mean it was going to be like funkadelic album or something, but it was just a pop album. It was her the shit that she's always been doing, right? And again, it's like that like outer appearance versus what's actually on the inside and how those connect in a thread, whether or not you agree with that connection. Because like, yeah, the 70s were certainly a time that were groovy, funky, whatever, but they were also a time when people did a lot of fucking
Yeah.
drugs. And that's what that album is about. So, it's really kind of how you slice it. But if you have a really strong emotional reaction and like a dedication to like this thing needs to be what it's saying it is, you're gonna have kind of a bad time.
Could
So
all
go
could
ahead.
all of that have to do with people having a very visceral, strong reaction to something that really doesn't merit essentially such a visceral, strong reaction?
Yeah.
Sometimes I find that people will do that, not necessarily with Taylor Swift, but just in general, when they don't have control over other things or they're really pissed about other things, so they then throw that reaction onto some bullshit that like doesn't matter
Hmm.
because that's easier to stomach or easier to handle or easier to deal with. And I wonder if maybe like while I don't know exactly all of what you're talking about here with Taylor Swift, I'm wondering if that's what people are fucking doing.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. Absolutely they are. And this is one of the reasons why I was like, I need to talk to you about this because you are um picking up on exactly the kinds of things with like no knowledge of who this person is or like what's going on, just based on the astrology and like the themes that are coming up, right? So absolutely. And I think if we like the thing that I was talking about before of how we are a social culture and with how individualized our algorithm is, we really don't have a monoculture anymore. Like there's very few people that you can just put their name and like say in the general public and they will know who you're talking about. Celebrities have become like very, very niche and like even the most famous people that we have now in entertainment industry, most of them were famous before this like split,
this,
you
yes.
know, the
Yeah,
big split.
yeah, there is definitely split because I mean like there are a lot of famous people. I don't know who the fuck they are. I don't even like I mean I know who Taylor Swift is, but like a lot of there are other people I'm like I don't even know who the fuck that person is. Um
Mhm.
and maybe it's
Exactly.
also
So,
and it could also be with getting older, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it probably ties into that somewhat too. But yeah, there it even without knowing a whole lot about that either, there does seem like there is a split of like different types of celebrity and like different yeah. Uh-huh.
mhm. Well, and with the United States' natal chart specifically, we're very focused again on the fantasy, right? And that extends very much into celebrity, the concept of celebrity, idolatry, which is particularly ironic because we were a Christian nation. Like break the first commandment, why don't you? Holy shit. Um, so like I wanted to take a look because I was researching this phenomenon of like how this is showing up in our culture, right? This like um self versus not self theme and like on top of the internet spiraling out of control over things and what gets really big emotional reactions. And for some reason, this one person has really like become a lightning rod for all of these themes in one go. And it's crazy because you can throw out the names of several other celebrities and maybe they've had a scandal, maybe not, but like there's almost always a very strong reaction to Taylor Swift if you just say the name out loud. It's like a magical utterance at this point. It's so prolific. Um, but if you look at Taylor Swift's natal chart and you put it on top of the United States' natal chart, um, I think we can start to see why this might be the case.
Let's also talk about the fact that there are a couple of different we know her time of birth is not actually known.
Hmm. Yeah, nobody knows her time of birth. And there's two like not dueling, I don't want to say dueling times, but like two of the more accepted times is either one or the other. There's a Capricorn rising and then there is a Scorpio rising chart. To be fair, and I know that you have experience with this too, most celebrities don't give their real birth time at the very least, if they get to a point of fame, because your natal chart is an incredibly revealing thing
It is.
in the right hands. Like you can do a lot of shit with that if you actually know what you're looking at. Um, and that's not something that most people really want to put out there in the general public when you are like at the apex and the
Yeah.
focal point of so many eyeballs. But I was talking to you like Beyonce was people were arguing on the internet so much about Beyonce's rising signs. She's either a Libra rising or some people were saying she's a Scorpio rising, and her birth time like just got released officially, and she's an Aries rising, and it gagged everybody. And now, of course, people are like backtracking and like, oh, it makes sense, blah blah blah. But it just kind of goes to show that a lot of people who use pop culture and celebrity names for the clickbait don't necessarily know anything about the astrology, or even if they do, you can still be wrong. Because again, like American celebrities, you are not getting the fantasy behind the curtain like peek into their life that you think you are. Like everything that we know about celebrities, almost everything, it's because they want us to know that. And that is the fantasy, even if it's like their personal life. So,
It's
yeah.
package, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So we have this is the Capricorn rising chart. I have that on the inside wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I have at 8:36 a.m. and is it reading or reading? Reading?
I think it's Reading, Pennsylvania, but I could be bad at reading.
I can't pronounce anything.
Literacy.
So there's
Yeah. Thank you for being someone who does not take that shit super seriously either, because that's how you make a fool of yourself, is when you're like, oh, I'm correct no matter what. Like, who fucking cares? It's Reading. I think it's Reading, but it could be reading.
Okay, Reading, Reading,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, December 13th, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to pull this? Do you want me to have this by itself or do you want me to put the US with it? I know you just mentioned that, but do you want it by itself first or like this?
I thought it would kind of be fun because I've just been like fucking on my little soapbox for a hot minute. I thought it would be kind of fun since you don't know very much about her to see if you wanted to take a look at both of these charts and sort of describe what you think, which one you think is more likely, and if there's anything that you see kind of popping out at you. And with my unfortunate like extensive knowledge, just researching into what I know about her, I can probably fill in some blanks and see what kind of a portrait you want to do.
Okay. We talked about this chart. This is the one that's on astro.com. It's
Hmm.
like D or it's like D rated.
Double D.
Yeah, double D rated. So no, so essentially nobody knows shit.
It
I
came from like a Facebook post or something. Like some random person was like, "This is the time of birth," and everyone's like, "Okay."
or
Um,
rectified it and made, or rectified. I put it like that because
yeah.
she wasn't. I don't like this.
The Capricorn rising chart.
I don't. Not because she
Mhm.
doesn't seem like she could be a Capricorn rising. We were talking. I don't like this here. I don't like
Hmm.
Uranus here. She does not strike me as weird. And
Not in a Uranian way, for
not in a
sure. She's a Sagittarian weird, but she's not a Uranian
yeah,
weird.
no, she's not. She to me, she is not. And like I said, and I'm probably a terrible judge of this because like I don't know anything about this individual, really. But I mean, when I think of Uranian weird, I don't think of music like hers. I just don't.
Hmm.
And any Uranus rising people that I've known, even if it's in the 12th house. They're all fucking weird. Like they are weird. You in some kind of way they are weird and it's like yeah, she doesn't have she I don't see
Weird as in like not appealing to the masses in like a Target
yeah.
display case kind of
Yeah.
way, which is very much like
Yeah.
how her brand is packaged. And I super agree with you. I think people who like this chart see like, oh, Mercury is conjunct the ascendant, so she makes a lot of music. Okay. I mean, sure. But uh I don't think I've ever seen any other musician that I've looked into that has that exact placement, which,
Yeah, I yeah, this one I'm not I'm not crazy about it for that reason. Now there is one thing that I kind because we were talking about this. And now I'll say this, my opinion of her, what I know of her primarily comes from what you've told me. Okay. So
I'm so sorry.
no, no. I'm just putting it out there for everybody, for everybody. Like I don't really know that much
Hmm.
about this individual, but the things that you were telling me, there is there is definitely something 12th housey about her.
Hmm.
I the sun in the 12th house, there is something about that that makes sense to me. I mean, I know that you are, I am. Like
Yeah.
I could see that here with her. Um kind of it does sound like people do a fair amount of projecting their shit. And I'm sure you're not a stranger to that, having people, do that to you. I'm not a stranger to it either. Um
Hmm.
so in a much smaller scale, right? But you could get that sun in the 12th without having this rising. But
Hmm.
that is like the one thing about this chart that I could get down with. But you could
Hmm.
also perhaps get that same thing by having other things in the 12th as well. Um,
I think having Venus in the first house in Aquarius is a little bit odd
yeah, it
for
is.
her potentially. And like, I also understand because she's had so many like transformations, and people are like, oh, Pluto's transformation and Pluto and Scorpio in the 10th house. She's always rebranding, blah, blah, blah. But like, that's everybody in the 12th. Like, if you're an entertainer, like, people's attention spans are nothing anymore. Like, you have to keep reinventing yourself to stay relevant. I don't think that that's necessarily as convincing as maybe some people would think.
Speaking speaking
Go
of
ahead.
Pluto, the Pluto thing, and I don't know enough about her to even remotely try to dive into this, but I do
Feel
notice
free.
her nodes, and that stands out considerably. Like
Hmm.
there is something about power and transformation and
Hmm.
perhaps how to wield it or not wield it in the public spheres of life. If you're going with this chart right in the 10th house, there is something about that here in this lifetime. But that would be going on not necessarily in the 10th house, but it would be going on regardless of which time you used, right? So that theme of
Hmm.
something to figure out with power and transformation and control, and that's going to be involved somewhere in her life. So perhaps
Hmm.
these transformations that people that you just said people say she's doing or whatever, I wonder if there is some sort of evolutionary for her. But I also wonder if she's actually doing it because I'll be honest, like these transformations that you talk about, like you have me, you asked me to listen. You were like, you didn't ask, I shouldn't say it like that. It wasn't like you need to listen to this or please listen to this. It was more like check it out if you have a chance. The new album
Hmm.
that she put out.
Because I just wanted to see, like, as someone who doesn't like know anything about her, like what
Yeah.
you responded to.
Well,
Did you ever actually listen to the songs themselves, or were you like just reading the lyrics? It's
well,
fine either way.
I did listen to a few songs and then I was like, I'd rather
Okay.
lyrics. I'm sorry. I was like, I'd rather, but okay. So I had this thought and I'm like, okay. So then I read the lyrics and I'm like, okay. And then I thought, because you also mentioned things like she's like this particular album is real polarizing or whatever for people. And I'm like, okay, well,
Hmm.
what the fuck is because I got curious and I'm like, what's so different about it? From somebody that doesn't know anything about her music, what's so different about it?
Hmm.
Right now, I did
Yeah,
notice,
just like a big break.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is this like a really stark deviation? Was she like did she sound like, I don't know, some totally other thing before? Now, the one thing
Hmm.
I will say I noticed is that this album, and I did pay attention to uh, this album seems to have a lot of explicit, like the E's next to, I don't think I
Hmm.
noticed quite so many of those in the other albums.
I'm
Uh,
not sure.
it seemed like there were more in this one, so I thought maybe that's what it is. Like as I was going back and forth, because honestly, I can't figure it out. I listened to a few, not the whole album, but I listened to a few songs off a few other albums. I honestly don't even remember which ones they were. And
Hmm.
I couldn't tell you what songs were on what albums. And it's not
Hmm.
because they all they I don't get what the difference is.
Yeah, that's fine. No, like that is certainly something that like what I will say about Capricorn Mercuries, especially when you have that Mercury in the center of what I very fondly deem the millennial clusterfuck, which is Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune in Capricorn. When you have Mercury between those two planets, Uranus and Neptune, especially, um, Capricorn Mercuries are already, when they are in the arts, incredibly prolific. They are like constantly just like making the thing. Like you need to um, solidify how you perceive the world and you process that through like making stuff, right? And when you have this connection not only to Uranus, which will be like sparks of inspiration, sparks of insight, really like laser focus immediacy, but also with Neptune on the other side of it, it is this like etheric, almost like deification of this process. And you can see that with when people enter the world of Taylor Swift. It's almost like people who love Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who love Star Wars and they grew up with it and they have all the little action figures or whatever, and they go to Universal or Disneyland or whoever the fuck owns it, and they have a blast, right? Because it's an immersive world. Like Capricorn Mercury is phenomenal if they, especially with this like besiegement, uh, you get to enter into this world. So if you're interested in doing the work of actually stepping through that portal of her like structure that she's built over these years with all of her music, you will completely understand where things are different, what the lore is, right? Like it's
Is
a
what
very expansive universe.
which is what
But
I
like
that's
exactly. But like bitch, I've seen Star Wars. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like it's fine. It's like it's the same allegory of what we're going through right now. Um, you know,
yeah.
that we see in art all the time. Like it's not, it is genius in some ways for certain, and it is captivating in some ways for certain, but it does require the audience member to physically like do, or intellectually at least, do that labor of deciding to take the ticket and like walk into this immersive experience and like get lost in it a little bit. And she like if you decide to do that, she'll take you on an adventure. She'll break your fucking heart. She'll make you cry. She'll make you laugh. She is really quite good at what she does. But like from the outside, if you are not interested in doing that, like mental labor, it's going to sound like Mickey Mouse, tralala, everything's the same nonsense. And to a certain extent, most art is that way. But like, especially with her, I think it's very much that, like, again, fantasy land that the United States specifically really loves.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, it must be like an ignorance thing on my part because I'm listening to this and then I've listened to a couple from other albums and I'm like, I don't really get what's so polarizing about this, but I mean, which I don't know. Did
Mm-hmm.
she say fucking some songs? Did that piss some people off? It's I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like I don't quite my ignorant ears
So,
don't see the don't hear the difference here.
mhm. No, that really does make sense. And like she started when she was, I think, 14 or something. She started in the music industry when she was really, really young. And so her music back in the day reflects that. And as she has grown as a human being, her art has grown as well. I think some people are critical of certain aspects of like the themes that she uses or whatever, but really, truly, I think she is this paradox, especially with the United States. Again, we love being the underdog. We love being the victim that overcomes the thing, right? And she is very much someone who has gone through, in the public eye, some seriously underdog shit. And she has overcome it in her own way. And that is an incredibly American, like, idealism
Yeah, we like
thing
that.
where we were watching that. We love that, right? Most people really love that. Yes, and she was born as a tall, blonde, thin white girl with a rich papa who, like, both of her parents fucking love her and they supported the shit out of her since she was a kid. And we're like, you want to do this thing? We are going to make it our fucking whole life to make sure that you can do this. And that paradox of like genuinely having fuck shit happen to you while having all of the path paved in front of you, it's a paradox not a lot of people can stomach. And so therein lies the polarization, because if you relate to her songs because everybody's had fuck shit happen to them, and you're like, man, this person gets it, they write in a way where I can relate to this. um yes, and there's no fucking world where you would ever be able to trade places with her, because like the systemic structure just would never allow that. So she has access to your life, but you do not have access to hers. And that's the fantasy um, that is really that push pull of the United States, specifically that Chiron and Aries, that like person that we actually are versus that fantasy that we project out. We all want to be able to insert our lives and fantasize about being these people that we idolize if we choose to do so. But in reality, like, she's a really great example of how that will just never be the case. And it's it's making a lot of people feel some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you want to, I don't know if you want to look at her other natal chart for her other rising sign, or if you want to look at her chart over the United States is. I
Oh,
really do. I love the idea that you had of her having like a late Sag rising potentially, but that's all like, you know, pontification on our part.
yeah. I'm like, I can fuck around with that shit, but really, I don't even know if I should be because I know very little about this person. But
That's
uh,
almost better, I think, because you don't have like a bias of like wanting. Again, it's like that. The more you learn about her, the more you're like, oh, I can relate to this person. It's really trippy. It's really fucking trippy.
well, you and I were talking about that. You mentioned, you said, what did you say the word attainable?
Hmm.
I said girl next door. There is something like, about her that perhaps that's part of, or some like that plays into this here.
Absolutely. I mean, as someone who has worked in the entertainment industry, I know the massive amount of work that it takes to build the fantasy that people consume. And I can't imagine anything more of a hellish environment than to fucking be famous. I truly can't. Um, and what people used to do, the kind of celebrities that we grew up with, like pop personalities, they were more overtly exceptional. And they had things that we couldn't have. And so it felt more like appropriate, I guess, that people idolize them. Like, I'm never going to be able to sing like Whitney Houston
Yeah.
ever. Like, she had an etheric grace about her that is just a natural thing that someone is either born with or not. Beyonce is like a deification, like a personification of like a deity. She has a lot of qualities that people know they're just never gonna fucking have. And the same can be said for Mariah and Ariana. It's been in certain interviews, if you go back, I study pop culture a lot, by the way. I'm not like obsessive about any of this. This is just something that's like very specifically tied to this transit, but also, again, media literacy should start with pop culture. But the a lot of the singers who have that exceptional range or dynamic aspect, like people like singing in the car,
Mm.
and so it's not as marketable to be an exceptional singer because people don't want to not be able to sing in the car to your music. And so you have a lot of really like dynamic, fantastic vocalists who have to scale back their talent to appeal to people who just want to be able to interact with them. There is this like ego thing. Again, it's very American. Like, where you think you're fucking better than me? It's like literally yes, but okay. That's kind of the fucking point. Um, but like Britney Spears was a phenomenal dancer. She's phenomenal. She still is. She's live, everyone. Um, she had this etheric, like vibrancy about her that was very friendly and very charming. But she was the only person on the planet who could pull off a pair of low-rise jeans and not look insane. Like, she had the unattainability aspect of it. And the thing that I think is so successful about Taylor Swift is that she is not positioning herself as a deity. She is not positioning herself as better than you. She's not provoking that like thing that like people will get jealous of. She's her brand is like we're best friends. Like she's standing right next to you at her own concert with like singing the lyrics with you, right? And that's what people want, especially in this like loneliness epidemic and this like parasocial thing that we have with a lot of celebrities. She's really been successful at maintaining this level of like attainability. And again, like in our heads, we're like, man, what if my parents supported me in every single step of like my dreams? Would I like it's your brain is allowed to extend that fantasy however you might see fit. And not for nothing, but she appeals not just to an older audience. She appeals to kids, even though she has explicit tracks on this album. The clean version you could play as background music when you're babysitting someone and like their kid would not feel some
I
kind of way, you know?
thought she was more for like kids and teenagers.
Yeah.
That's what I was. Yeah, but apparently that's not the case. But that is really what I yeah.
Well, yeah, and like this obsession with youth that the United States kind of has, she's been very intentional about being very vocal about like, yeah, we throw women away after the age of like 25 or whatever in the entertainment industry, which is true, right? Because we don't like old, get out of here, old. Um,
Out of your old.
like no, but like if the shiny toy gets even a tiny ding on it, we throw it in a fucking landfill and buy a new one. Like that's the American consumeristic thing, and especially with women, that we objectify and put on a shelf and go, let's look at this for a while. It's it's really dehumanizing to individuals who are famous, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down on that every single day of my fucking life. Um, Entertainment is labor, and we don't want to think about that. And I think the big thing about Taylor Swift specifically is that she has really never shied away from reminding you that entertainment is labor. And as someone who is very like pro labor, pro union, I'm a socialist, like you need to be getting your fucking fair wages, right? We have a huge blind spot when it comes to entertainment. We don't want to hear an influencer bitch about how hard they work because we could do that job, right? Like you're supposed to make it look easy. That's why it's your job. Because if you make it look hard, people don't want to watch someone fucking struggling, like for entertainment. Some people do, but like anybody who has gotten even a small amount of internet fame has had the audacity to say, like, this is hard. People rip them into fucking shreds. And any celebrity, especially who has been like, yeah, I feel unsafe. Like this job can be really scary sometimes. I work really long hours, but I do it because I want you to have a nice time, right? And it's again, it's that fantasy of the show versus what's happening behind the scenes. We think we want to know how the sausage is made, but we don't want to know. We want the show of like, look at how much fun we're having doing all of this work to make another show for you. And it's like we just like want that consumptive aspect. But she's been very upfront with like how much work goes into what she does, and she values the labor of everybody who's um, involved in that process, which is something that like regardless of how like I feel about her music or her brand or whatever, like you got to give people their W's where they stand. And there's a lot of fucking billionaires out there who do not care about the labor that got them there.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are no ethical billionaires. She does not need me to fucking defend her. But, you know, it is appreciated. But people don't like hearing that entertainment is labor. They don't like, it's really hard to conceptualize like glittery, shiny rhinestones, blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Exactly. I love it. You were crying the whole time you were putting those on. You were like, oh, nobody's allowed to see that though. That's all got to be behind closed doors. And again, it's like it's the keeping up with the Joneses stuff. It's very much the like strong face thing that Americans are really into in the underdog story, right? Like we love a montage because that's where all the hard work happens. And we like to fast forward through
Eh,
that.
yep. No, the
But that's really what it is. So yeah, she's a super hard worker. And I think that if anything gives validity to a Capricorn rising chart, but I'm not obsessed with it either. If you want to talk about the Scorpio rising chart, we sure can, because I see it up and I think it's pretty interesting in my opinion.
well, it definitely makes her like driven as hell
Mm-hmm.
with that Mars and Scorpio conjunct the ascendant. And this time, by the way, 5:17 a.m., right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right, 5:17. Um, okay, so I didn't know all of that about the work stuff you were talking about with her.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a little labor rant for a second, but
Oh, no, no, totally fine. Totally fine, totally relevant. I was happy to listen to it. But I'm looking at this chart and I'm like, Capricorn is intercepted here.
hmm. Oh yeah, I guess it is, huh?
It is. I was just looking, I didn't notice that before. I also didn't know all the
Hmm.
stuff about that you just said. I'm
Keeping you on your toes.
yeah, you are. I'm wondering exactly how that would translate because if she's been very intentional, it sounds like about making sure that people know about how much work stuff or the work that's put in, right? It sounds like she is.
I think that she's when I say that, it's someone again who like knows the back end a lot more than most people do, but she's not shy about saying like this is hard. I put a lot of work into this. There are really bad people in this industry. Like she's the thing I really like about this chart specifically is like she will go out of her way to make a point just to like let you know, like you think that this is what's happening, but like actually I'm right and I'm going to make sure that you have a very big and undisputable example of why I'm fucking right. And I think she's really good at doing that. Whether or not people like to hear it or not is, you know, another story.
It would
Does that
also
make sense?
it does make sense. And I'm also let Mars again, it's the ruler of her fifth house, the
Hmm.
entertainment house coming right to the ascendant.
Hmm.
That would make sense here. And
Yeah, and her brand has always been like her, right? And I think that's a very like first house sun kind of a thing. She's really good at performing an identity. And I think over the years, we've seen the way that pop culture has shifted and how important privacy is and like having that separation. A lot of the best and most like long-term mentally stable people in the entertainment industry have sort of constructed this facade, this like effigy of themselves for people to stare at so that they can have like a life back here that like people don't have access to, right? My dog. Um, and that there's a real psychological reason for that. When people stare at you, you feel it,
yeah,
right? Like if there's somebody, if you're in a room and someone's like staring at you down and you like they're not in your field of view, you can like your heckles kind of go up, right? That's an evolutionary thing. um think about what that's like when thousands of people are doing that to you. Think about like that incredible amount of energy. I don't know if you've ever had like any kind of group mob online like get angry at you. It's a crazy fucking feeling. Has that ever happened to you?
online
Mhm. Hopefully not in person. Oh my God. Can you imagine just running down your block with people like chasing
with pitchforks and torches.
you? Yeah.
Um, um, n- no, actually, not online, and actually in person, not with literal pitchforks and torches, but in person, I've definitely had the feeling of and actually being ganged up on,
Yeah.
which is not pleasant. Um,
No, it's not.
online though, I'll disengage from that.
Hmm.
If it starts feeling like even remotely, more than anything, I've seen that kind of happen in the subreddit. Not with
Oh.
not with me, but with other people, and I'll shut it down. I'll be like,
Hmm.
we aren't doing this. We're not going to do this here, people. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. I
If
love that.
it,
I love your subreddit. It's so good.
thank you. Yeah, if it even remotely seems like it's going to devolve into that, I'm like, okay, I'll message the person that posted and I'll be like, okay, I can see where this is going,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to go anywhere good for you. I'm locking this.
Good. That's a true kindness, honestly.
Yeah, it's like I had somebody once get real pissed. Well, why do I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm being nice here. You don't understand. Like I'm trying to help you. You're not seeing it that way, but I promise I'm
Mm-hmm.
not being an asshole. I'm trying to help you. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in time you will see what I did here, but I'm trying. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
now that I have noticed that though on the subreddit with people. But yeah, I'll lock it down if it starts seeming like it's remotely going to go that way.
that's good. That's so healthy. I see. This is why it works. Because, again, like that, the dogpiling and the wanting to feel like an in group in the community and stuff online, that happens really fast. And especially with like the being on the right side of history thing that's emerged in the past 5 years of this, like, again, this very American fantasy of like, well, we would never let this period of time ever happen again because like we're smarter than that. And it's like, fucking open again.
Yeah,
Like, what you think?
it's like, do you all not see these trends? Do you all not see this shit coming back around?
Hmm.
Do we not see it? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, it's not going to get solved with like a quippy one liner or like a, ooh, we're going to expose this thing. It's like, that's not how,
you have to put in the work.
whatever.
We all have to put in
Yeah.
actual work to.
And like, we have to engage with that Saturn Chiron opposition. Like, and something that we don't really talk about that much, I think, is you're going to fuck it up. You're going to fail. You have this concept of self, and I am like if I was in that position, I would do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you do find yourself in that position and you surprise the hell out of yourself because you are not nearly as brave, as strong, as smart, as fast as you thought you were.
Oh yeah.
And you have to deal with that. That's a really difficult paradigm shift for someone to deal with and engage with in an honest way with themselves. And most people don't want to do that. So we see the doubling down, the burying of the shame, the like projecting even harder. Like I'm actually a better person because I didn't live up to my values. Thanks. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just this big snowball. It's very, very dangerous. Like you have to be able to like sit with the fact that like you are going to let yourself down sometimes. And that's just a part of being a person. And now you have more information to like round out your identity a little bit more. Maybe I am someone who has these values and I want to be this person, but I know that this is how I act in these situations. So I'm either going to learn how to be more like this or I'm going to find ways that are more aligned with like my natural state and sharpen those instincts so that I'm more prepared for next time. Like that's really just the answer.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's not fun or cute or boring. There's no rhinestones on it. It's unfortunately it's not the fantasy, right? That's the work that goes on behind the curtain.
Speaking of the fantasy, I just noticed in this one, it
Mm-hmm.
was a little wider in the other one, but in this one, fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
Neptune is conjunctures would be conjunctures. And mind you, this would have to the sun and midpoint depends on, we want to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
you're getting accurate times and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to deviate just a little bit where the time changes, but the sun and midpoint is so personal, and having that conjunct the US's Neptune, it kind of, there's something about that.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of
Yeah, she's
the
go
candidate
ahead.
fantasy for the to be, put on or whatever, tie into that.
Mm-hmm. She's very much a mirror to that dichotomy, that like tension that we feel. And a mirror is just a mirror until you step in front of it, right? So whatever the reaction is um, to her is much more reflective of the person looking in the mirror than it is about the fucking mirror, right? Because it's she has the effigy up. Like you don't know her. I don't fucking know her. I'm never gonna meet her. Um, like I've been in the same room with her. Like it's I don't fucking know her. It's fine. Like you can use that knowledge to self-reflect because that's what a mirror is fucking for, or you can punch the wall a bunch. or
Yeah.
like worship yourself. You know what I mean? Like if we want to project out all of the things that we love about ourselves or value about ourselves onto this other person and worship them, it's not particularly useful or productive.
Yeah, it's like which
Um,
one of these is the most productive way to use this to do what is the most productive thing to do here?
Precisely. And it's very much like an equal and opposite thing. Like you can be angry at the mirror and punch at it or whatever, but like, okay, you still didn't like you are in the same exact category in terms of productivity. What I do want to point out most specifically, it's not just the Saturn and Chiron in the US natal charts, like that opposition. But as someone who is a very Chiron minded astrologer, I was also born in 1989, not to project like my own self onto this person, but I got really interested in a Jupiter Chiron conjunction because it only happens once every like I think 12 to 20 years. I don't know the exact math because I'm a bad person and didn't prepare, but it's not a particularly common thing to see. And it's really, I mean, I know why now. I'm really interested in this little asteroid, or yeah, because it's conjunct in the 10th house for me to Jupiter. So like I see it everywhere. It's always around. And so I'm like picking up on a lot of these themes. And everyone's like, wow, you're a bummer. But the funny thing is that her moon is in there too. Thank you. The funny thing for me is like her moon is in there too, right? She has a Cancer moon. Um, so it's not just that she is able to see all of this like the same way that I would be. It's like the emotional processing of how she engages with the world in opposition to all of our lovely Capricorn fantasticalness that she's bringing into the world. Um, she's literally creating mirrors all over the place.
Yeah.
And however you react to those mirrors in her art is something that can be self-reflective. So like you're walking through a fucking fun house if you again buy the ticket and engage. And I really appreciate a lot of my friends have a similar reaction to you when it comes to this particular effigy in pop culture, which is like, all right, whatever. Because to me, that says like you've done a lot of this self-reflection and like you don't have this need to project out necessarily onto literally like the easiest fucking target,
No,
right? Like
yeah.
there's a level of maturity and discernment there that I appreciate in my friends, and I really do like that.
Well,
um
thank you.
Other people have it too. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty. I might seem kind of goofy, but I think I am pretty discerning, and yeah, I say
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think 'cause I got rhinestones falling off, which is kind of stupid.
I love it. I'm seeing behind the curtain and I don't like it.
I'm
Put
like,
those rhinestones back on.
I got it. I think it'll stay this time. Hopefully, we'll see.
But like the the Jupiter conjunction, Taylor Swift's Jupiter natally and the United States' Jupiter natally are very, very closely conjunct. If we are to believe her this to be her birth time, the moon is also very close to the US's natal Venus, which is probably why so many people resonate with her and like, find her alluring and appealing because she's incapable of being inauthentic. It's a very Jupiter Chiron conjunction in Cancer thing. It physically is painful to not be emotionally authentic and play this weird role that society is like telling us to play because it never ends well. Like we don't actually benefit from it as millennials. Like we did the things that we were told to do, and like we still got fucked. So if I'm gonna pretend to be somebody for your comfort and it hurts me and I'm still gonna get fucked, I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna do the things that I want to do and live as authentically as possible because I'm gonna get fucked either way. And if one of us is gonna be in pain, I'm gonna make sure it's you. If one of us is gonna be uncomfortable with how I present myself in the world, it's gonna be you. And her Chiron, again, is really, really close in a conjunction with the United States' natal sun.
Yeah.
So we have that T square
Mhm.
of the United States' sun, our cultural identity. That's like having a time right now, is in a pretty intense T square with our Chiron Saturn opposition, which is why I think a lot of people are expecting her to take a political stance or to like act in a certain way because they want to align themselves with the right side of history. They want to know who they're supporting and make sure that they pass their purity test of ethics,
I
right?
think
Which is not a bad thing, but
but again, this is us focusing, or not us as in you and I necessarily, but just in general, focusing on, like, honestly, who gives a shit what her political views are? What we should be doing is, like, the politicians that are in office. I want to know who pays them. I want to know where they, like, that's what I want to know. I don't give a fuck who Taylor Swift supports, who cares? Or any other celebrity.
mm-hmm,
I want to know who's lining our politicians' pockets. But it's harder to ask for that, I guess, than to
mm-hmm.
ask for Taylor Swift to say what her affiliation is. That doesn't even really matter. Sorry,
Yeah, and
that's my own soapbox to get on, I guess.
no, I love it because that is a very, sorry, I'm burping. It's a very like unpopular thing to say for some reason, because people with platforms have some amount of power, and if you can amplify a topic that you believe in, a cause or whatever, and get more people who maybe wouldn't be exposed to that outside of like that person's audience, I think then it's appropriate. Like you can say, hey, there's this thing happening. I want to amplify it because these people are doing good work or these people are becoming harmed. Like there's stuff you can do about it. I have the megaphone. Um, but what I think a lot of fans of really popular people, and it's not just Taylor Swift, but it is very specifically her right now, is that like they want her to tell them what to do, what to think, that everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? And like that is an incredibly dangerous thing to do when you have an audience of that size because
Well,
you
yeah.
can't
What the fuck?
like she's made it as clear as I think she feels is safe for her to tell people what her political affiliations are. Um, and even so, they are like determined to say whatever the fuck they want because they know that her name is so ubiquitous now that they're going to get traffic and clicks. And
Yeah.
people have those emotional reactions to this stuff with the biases that they have about her or not. Um, and so they're going to make money and they're going to be able to spread these things. And so it doesn't like whenever you put something out into the world as somebody who has a lot of attention that people listen to, you have to be really fucking careful with what you say and how you say it.
Oh yeah,
And
sure. Yeah, and if she really has, I mean, because there are a lot of celebrities that endorse whatever they endorse, or what, and that's fine. That's totally their whatever. But
yeah,
I mean, but somebody that, and it sounds like she doesn't do that, and it is probably on purpose, I'm assuming. Um,
for
like,
whatever reason, like we don't know,
yeah,
right?
for
Like we
whatever reason,
genuinely do
yeah,
not know.
yeah, for whatever reason that might be. Like, we go into voting booths, right? And we're not, it's private.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be demanding that of a public figure that's not in, like, that's not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's very like they're people who are really good at their job and they're doing their job. And you're asking them to do something that is way outside their wheelhouse. Like, if you want to know if Taylor Swift is a Democrat or if she's MAGA, I want to know how many books on Dua Lipa's book club you have fucking read because that's something that she's been doing. Dua Lipa is an enormous pop star that has a book club who is every single month she chooses a book from an author and reads with everybody in her book club. It's free to sign up. She has a podcast where she goes and interviews the author and asks them the most insightful, interesting questions and promotes literacy. Like, if you really want to have a pop star give you insightful things to think about, if you really want to engage with them on an intellectual level, there are pop stars who want to do that. But that's not what people want. People want Taylor Swift said it's okay. Taylor Swift said, I'm a good person. That's what they want. And you get really ridiculed for that. It makes sense. And I'm saying this as someone who has spent $0 on her brand. I have never once purchased anything from this person. And I probably won't because I don't do that. That's not really my thing. Um, People are going to spend their money how they want to spend their money. And there's lots to discuss about how she markets herself and how she has become such an empire with the amount of wealth that she has amassed. And there are lots of really, really insightful conversations that people could be having with that as a jumping off point. The capitalistic aspect, that mirror of the American dream, like we're all temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right? Now it's billionaires probably. But like again, that like ticks people off that she's like now a billionaire. And she's one of the few people in that club that the vast majority of that wealth is built on things that she made. She like started and made, as opposed to direct exploitation and compounding. There's a lot in the supply chain of exploitation, most likely. When you manufacture en masse, that's going to happen.
Yeah, well,
But I think it's a really interesting case. And if you want to have like good faith conversations about how there are no ethical billionaires and like how we want to feel about if you like her music but feel weird about that, that's a conversation to have. And you can have that with people. Yelling on the internet that she's suddenly MAGA or whatever is not like it's a weird conversation shutdown. It's not like a connectivity thing. It's like, oh, I'm disregarding everything about you as a person because you don't think this one weird opinion that I've probably been fed about this pop star. You know what I mean?
no,
It's very polarizing.
and I'd like to get into that because I noticed the time, and I had said,
Mm-hmm.
people, the attention span of everybody, and
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to talk shit about anybody here, but
I am.
the reels,
All of you motherfuckers.
the reels and short videos have made people, I mean, myself included, attention spans are like ants. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
what you were just, we are going to probably, because we are over an hour.
Sorry.
No, 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 no. And I've enjoyed listening to listening and engaging with you and talking with you. Um, but what you just said, I did want to get into, things being, packaged for us and curated
Mm-hmm.
for us, because that is a big deal. And the things that you have talked about, right? And the things that we were talking about before we started recording this, um, in a lot of ways, the things that like just with her, other things, it's a lot of people, it feels very manufactured. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
discord. Or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things to like be pissed off in the world about. Like there are a lot of things that are fucked up. You have every reason to be pissed off about them. Um, but I think you know what I'm trying to say with the it does seem like sometimes it's nice and packaged for us. Like, okay, we can be mad about this today. And then
Mm-hmm.
this week we're going to be mad about this. And these might all be things, may or may not be things that we should all be pissed off about, but it's the manufacturing and the curation of it. Like, okay, let's be pissed off about this now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, now it's time to be pissed off about this. And I do
Yeah,
think,
it's a fictitious sense of community there for sure.
and I think that feeds in
Hmm.
here too.
Yeah, I mean, marketing is a really complex thing right now, and especially with what when something is free, right? The whole saying is like if you're getting something for free, you are the product, right? Like the time that you spend, the attention and the time of your life that you were spending staring at a screen is like optimized, curated specifically for you. And that's why it's so beneficial to people who want to keep you on an app to collect your data, to be one of the many drops in the ocean that makes this giant tidal wave that has real life ramifications for maybe a political election or for a pop star's demise or whatever. And you can feel like you're a part of something, right? Uh, I don't know how many people really understand how much of what's considered like public opinion is really manufactured. Like in the music industry, it's a really as far like it's well known to me, I think, but it's a really predatory industry. It's very, very difficult to make a living in entertainment at all, but in the music industry specifically. I always think back to like when TLC won their Grammy and they were being interviewed and they were like, "How are you guys bankrupt right now?" And I think it was, I want to say it was Left Eye who's just like laid it out. It was like, this is what you have to do. I have to pay this up front. These are the people that take all of the percentages of my money, and then you have to like go around and around and around. And by the end of it, you are in debt past what is left, right? It's really fucking difficult to make any money in the industry. With that being said, there are people who have like hacked the system because they've had a little bit of a leg up. A lot of people don't realize that like top 40 hits, a lot of those are paid to be on there
Well, they
sometimes.
are.
When we talk about like bot farms on the internet, like astroturfing and like this conscious manipulation of public opinion to where real people jump on because they think that there's like a group consensus when it's really just bots. The flip side of that is that there are plenty of people who have like walls of cell phones streaming music 24/7 to make those numbers happen. I'm not saying that's happening for her
You
specifically.
just
I'm
don't,
saying it's like a thing.
yeah.
It's a thing. And there are streamers that do it. There are like I'm sure there are influencers that do it. This is a an attention based economy. And so most people know how the mechanics of attention works. Like if you see that a video has like 5 views, you're less likely to watch it than a
Also less
video that
likely to
has
be
like
pushed, like pushed out just by, yeah.
yeah. And so people are trying to get the edge that they can. But what also happens is like if this is a marketing campaign from her camp specifically, like manufacturing this like Discord, so people are still talking about it and people are like you who never would have listened to her album. I come out and like, have you heard this? And then you go and you listen to a couple songs. It's very possible. It's also very possible that the person in the highest office of our government has had beef with her for a really long time and would be petty enough to manufacture something like that pretty easily, or somebody like down the chain, or somebody with an axe to grind. Like you really just don't know, and so it's super important to see if it feels organic in the first place or not. If you're all of a sudden getting flooded with some type of content that's really strongly opinionated and it's like trying to convince you of something, like they'll
Investigate
pretend
it a
it's too
little bit
much.
more.
A lot more, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much time do you want to spend wrapping this video up? Because I do have some like very uh hopefully helpful tips for if someone would like to engage with media literacy. If anyone has watched this video for this entire time, thank you. You're doing great already. Um, but I do have some tips and things that you can
I
do
just,
to.
I think it would be negligent not to include this. So,
Great, good. So the purpose of media literacy is to be able to I like consume a piece of media and understand it in its environment, in its element, what its purpose is for, and then be able to form an opinion about whether or not you like it, whether or not the message was correct, whatever. When we come with these predisposed biases and are looking for something to like, criticize, again, being critical and critical thinking does not mean to approach with criticism. It does not mean like I'm smart because I'm seeing that X, Y, and Z could have been better. Like, then pick up a fucking paintbrush and paint it yourself, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, there's intentionality with the way that media is projected. And it's important as someone who's interested in media literacy to be able to pull the thread and understand why. Why was this thing presented in the way it was to me? How did it get to me? Who is the person saying it? What are they trying to say? And I actually did a little bit of research because I was like, man, there are lots of organizations about media literacy.
mhm.
Um, and if you don't look for them, you won't find them because it's not particularly on the capitalism scale, it's not particularly profitable for people to be smarter.
Well, then I'll make sure
So
and put these links, whatever you throw out, in the description box so people can.
yeah, yeah, thank you. I have lots of things I can send you, but the first thing to know is that it's okay to admit that like you have some media literacy issues. It's literally impossible to keep up with the way that information is being manipulated today. And cutting yourself some slack and not needing to always be this like constantly correct person and like on your little high horse, like get down. That horse is tired. Like, you know what I mean? Just let it be okay to fuck up sometimes. Getting over that ego, that Chiron and Aries ego of like needing to be on the right side of history all the time, that's what's going to fuck you up. Again, that's what leads you down that puritanical, evangelical, some might say, pipeline of always needing to be correct. You're going to fuck it up, and you need to be able to learn how to deal with what happens when you're being proven wrong. So, never being 100% certain, always approaching, especially online, anything that you see with, even if it's the most convincing thing you've ever seen, save 1% of your certainty just in case something was manufactured. That will always be better than 100% certainty. That's how you get into a cult.
Yep.
Um, Hopefully you have more than 1%, but again, leave some room for doubt, leave some room for human error. Because AI videos are everywhere now and they're getting really fucking difficult to
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say is if you want to sharpen your media literacy, you should try and seek out people who work in tech who are actively trying to show you how to spot AI fabrication in videos, in photos, what kinds of technologies are coming out to the public because not everybody has good intentions. Not everybody wants to take, your money. Some people really do just want to make life worse.
Yep.
And that's really easy now. And it's something that I have been talking about since probably 2019, 2020 is like with the evolution of AI, the news is going to be much more difficult to see if it's real. Like videos, especially videos, if you see like a video with a caption and like the caption is telling you what's happening in the video, be incredibly suspicious.
Can I
If you see
interject?
a news headline, go,
Can
yeah,
I
yeah,
interject something here about news? I might
yeah,
recommend
absolutely.
instead of watching it, you read it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, be very discerning about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead. I'll stop.
The standard for research, and this is like the bare minimum, if you're writing a paper in college or something, right? The to think that something is probably pretty close to factual, you should find whatever the information is that you're
Mhm.
on the side of, I guess, whatever that information is, whatever the story is. And then you go out and you find at least three other publications that are trustworthy
Yeah.
who mirror most of that story. Everyone's going to have, again, if it's repeated verbatim, that's a really big clue, right? That it's maybe not an authentic piece of media. Um, but you need at least three confirmations from different sources with different biases, and they all need to sort of be reporting that same thing. So you get kind of like an average of information, and you can parse out
Yeah.
what's most likely to be true. And that's the very much if you're going to be reading the news, especially if you're going to be watching videos of stuff. Very often people will put a caption on a video of something that happened in the news, and the caption will be something completely different than what's happening in the video.
Yep.
And if all you're doing is reading a thing and you just believe the thing, that's telling you how to filter what you're seeing already. I hate that shit.
Yeah, I do too.
If I said this in I think maybe the last time I was on here, but if a news headline could double as like a porn headline, especially with the verb in all caps, they're already telling you what to think about what's in the article. And since most people don't bother reading the article, they're just telling you what to think. A news article headline should just say the thing that happened,
Yep.
and it shouldn't have any kind of conjecture or extrapolation about it. It's like Senator so and so had a hearing on this date at this time for this issue. It should not be Congress woman, blah, 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 slams this guy during his fucking deposition where he's humiliated. It's like all of those extra adjectives are telling you how to interpret that information. And this all should be almost a little bit insulting because it's so
It
simple,
is insulting.
but
It is
it's
insulting.
insulting because it's happening, you know, like it's happening to us and it's something that we've gotten so used to. But like nobody says slams in
No,
real life. Like no, like you know what I mean? Like,
no,
man, my boss fucking slammed my coworker with this one line. Like nobody fucking talks like that. Okay,
no.
great.
Sound like porn headlines or porn. Yeah, it does.
No, exactly. Like they use those same things because they it's like that's how yeah. Um, so make sure to keep your ego in check. You are going to be fooled by stuff. And it's important to check one another and learn how to have conversations in a considerate and compassionate way. I've had plenty of people who share something and I can tell, like, I think this is maybe a manufactured thing. I think this is an AI video, or I think
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and I'll just put in their DMs. I'm like, hey, I really like the sentiment, but I have a feeling because of X, Y, and Z, this might not be a human made thing. Or, you know, if somebody's like text me like an image of like some sort of thing that's a craft, it's really big in crafts right now where like AI can't make crafts
I
stitches and shit. It's a whole thing. Again, there's a lot of creators out there who are really invested in people seeing this visual language and learning how to sharpen those skills. And I'll give you some of those to
yeah.
link in the bottom that I particularly like. And again, don't just stop with the ones that I'm saying. Like use those as a jumping off point. Do the yes and conversation. If it's like, oh, this is a person that I was recommended to, I really like them. Look at who they're following. If you trust that person, see who they trust, and then check out their content. Maybe you don't like all of them. You shouldn't like all of them,
Yeah.
but there will be some that stick out to you. And that's how you kind of grow a more discerning audience. Um, if you want to learn media literacy, because I had a lecture back in like 2022 that I wrote, and I just have not re-recorded it for the public because technology just keeps getting so fast. It's really difficult to keep up with. If you Google media literacy plus like your state,
Okay.
the state government, as far as I've seen, like the states that I've tried this with, should have an outline or some educational course because media literacy is now starting to be something that people care about in schools. So you can Google the words media literacy plus your state,
I'm
and there
really
should
curious
be like,
what'll come up for Texas.
me too. I didn't try Texas, and I'm mad at myself
Because
that I
I'm
didn't.
thinking, living here and looking around, I'm like, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and it's very important, I think, too, to Google a couple of different states and like what does, if there is anything that comes up for Texas, what does that look like versus what comes up for New York?
yes,
Because in New York, I found their PDF to be very thorough. They had lots of links to other sources that like organizations that you can join. And what I really like is there's a lot of interactive games that people have programmed that kids can play that put you in the position of the troll, for example, trying to spread misinformation. So you can kind of understand the back end of like how this stuff spread. And that will actually make it much easier to kind of spot if you know what they're trying to accomplish in the first place. And I think that's a
yep,
really good thing that kids have access to.
that is.
So yeah, there's a ton more stuff. I don't want to like belabor this point too much, but I actually super do. um, but if you get nothing else from this video, and all of what I've been yapping about is do not crowdsource your opinions from the internet. Do not do that.
Mhm.
Take the time to form your own opinions
This,
every single time.
yeah, no, that really is. That's great. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
100,000,000,000% agree with that. I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
That happens far too fucking much.
Hmm.
And I think it's one of the things that has gotten us where we where we are. Um,
Very much.
Not the only
Yeah.
piece, but it absolutely is a big one.
Hmm.
Like,
And the reason I've said this a million times too, but the reason why I'm talking about this in a pop culture context and why it's so much easier to make these practices into habits and do your reps in pop culture. Because when it comes to news, real people have real people consequences.
hmm
Taylor Swift is up in her little bunker with all of her money. Like it's not going to hurt her if you no longer are a fan or if you are a fan or whatever.
yeah, she's
There's very real legislation that's happening because of how people are voting.
yes,
And if your vote can be swayed by things that are happening in the news, um, don't play target practice with other people's lives.
yeah.
You can start in pop culture. It's a microcosm, and there's plenty of space to be wrong. I don't think most people will, you know, short you on having the wrong opinion about a pop star and then changing your mind. But people are much slower to forgive um, voters who are swayed very easily
Yeah. Yes.
in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yes. Anyway,
Well, no, I was just thinking, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you like? Any last? I know you've been, but is if there's,
I know. I've,
and that is no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I know you've been talking a lot, so I'm like, is there anything else, or are you like, I'm done talking?
oh my God, no, I'm trying to be so cognizant of time. Like as soon as it hit the hour mark, I was like, wrap it up, wrap it up. I could literally sit here and talk about this for 5 straight hours and still have more to say because it's so fucking important.
It
Um,
is very important. And it's a very
so
like I know it's a very important topic that yeah, it is. It's very important.
it's also something that I have like purposefully been studying for the bulk of my entire life. Even when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, this is really something funky is happening here," and it's just grown. So I have a ton of like back history
Yeah.
of investigating this stuff. So it's not just about Taylor Swift. It doesn't really matter what you think about her.
Yeah.
It truly does not. I don't. Yeah, sure. If you want to promote this video and have video media literacy maybe be pushed to other people, comment below what your Taylor Swift song is that you like the most, or what um
The way you said
you
that.
what you don't what not, something, put something down there for us to read. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I love comments. I love reading the comments.
Hmm.
Yeah. You can also like and subscribe.
Yeah, I really appreciate how like similarly like blech, we are about the mechanics of needing to be seen as 12th house sons. We're
Yeah,
just like, ugh.
yeah, it is. It's like I mean I know I've been making videos for long, but almost 5 years now, but it's never gotten any easier. It's still very
Yeah.
if I could be behind my computer all the time and like never be seen, I would be. Um
Hmm.
um well where can you be found? We need to share that. That needs to get out there.
Yes. Yes. I need to promote myself.
Yes, you
Um, I do lots of
do.
stuff. I am also an astrologer, of course. You can find a lot of information about me on fancymonstervision.com. I am also an esoteric herbalist, so I make
Mhm.
some modern solutions to our modern time struggles that are hopefully very easy to implement and work pretty damn well, if I do say so myself.
No, you're yes. Yes, I can vouch for that. Not that you need me to, but yes. Very good. Very, very
I
good.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm so happy. Thank you for letting me talk about my my passion, which is people reading
Yeah.
and literacy in general.
Well, this is yeah, I mean, and this is important shit though. I mean, I know this is primary I mean, and we tied astrology into it, right? And we but this, this is an important thing that I don't think probably gets talked about enough. So, yeah. Thank you for wanting
Well, a lack of literacy sure does make a bunch of shitty astrologers too.
That's funny
Just
because
putting it
yes,
out there.
Why, yes, it does. Why, yes,
Hmm.
it does.
Oh, one more thing. Can I say one more thing before we say goodbye? Okay. I did want to highlight someone on the internet who I think is probably posting the most punk rock radical content of all time regarding literacy. His name is Oliver Speaks One. He is, I believe, the same age as me, so he probably has that Jupiter Chiron conjunction as well in Cancer. But he is a fully grown adult who was functionally illiterate and started making TikToks about how he couldn't read. And people were really curious about how he navigated his life because that seems like a fundamental skill. And like, how do you do that? And at first, he was just kind of talking about like, this is the reality for a lot of people. This is my reality. And then he started documenting via video learning to read
Oh,
at
that's
like a
awesome.
very it's an incredible piece of media. I think just like as a body of work for him. I don't know him. I'm trying not to be parasocial, but I am personally so fucking proud of him. Um, because he is not shy about showing when it's hard. And it's really hard a lot of the time. I remember being a kid trying to learn stuff and being like, why isn't this getting in my head? And like that is very much a real thing that he showcases. And he does not try and make any kind of he's not filming himself crying because people are going to want to watch him cry. He's like,
That's
this is what it looks like as an adult learning how to read. And I think that's really fucking important, not only to be compassionate towards one another, but also maybe it will be a little bit more helpful in each of us giving ourselves a little bit of slack because we are all in this together.
are.
So,
And you said
yeah.
Oliver Speaks One. Is that what you said? Okay,
Yeah, he's
well,
on TikTok and he's on, I think he has, I follow him on Instagram because I don't even do TikTok anymore. But
I know.
yeah, go support him if he has merch. I think he has merch. Like give him some love, some attention, some support's always good. I love finding people who are very earnest online. That Cancer, Cancer Jupiter Chiron conjunction. I love an authentic being. So yeah.
I'll link I'll link your where you can be found, but I'll also if you want to shoot me the link to him, I'll put
Yeah.
that in there too because that sounds really incredible. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we are going to go ahead and head off, but thank you again for being here and for sharing all of this and for talking and everything. Thank you.
Thank you for having me and for um, humoring me in wanting to talk about Taylor Swift, but having that be a rug pull for a very important conversation to have.
Yes.
So thank
Yes.
you.
Welcome anytime to do that or anything else here. I love having you. I really do.
Mwah.
And to everybody else watching this, I will see you later.